Hey, welcome back, Applied English, to day 2 of our spring semester. I know I just had you yesterday. You guys should know that since all of my Applied English classes, both virtual and in person, are odd-numbered classes, they're 3, 5, and 7, you all have class on the same exact date. So you'll notice that I just have today's lesson agenda labeled as January 7th. That's because all of you have day 2 on the same day here. Before we get into today's lesson, let's pray. Lord Jesus, thank you so much for this opportunity to learn. Even while we are limited and under restrictions and those kinds of things, we thank you for the ability even to learn virtually. I know it's not ideal and it's not as good as learning in person, but we acknowledge that you've still given us these good gifts. Gifts like technology, gifts like health, gifts like family, gifts like warm houses in the midst of winter, gifts like our school building where our teachers and students can get some work done and continue to keep learning going. We pray, God, that you continue to bless us with these things. We pray that we can continue to give you the praise that you deserve for that. And we pray, God, that you are continuing to protect us all from COVID-19. And we pray that that better days are ahead of us in this year of 2021. We love you, Jesus. We pray this all in your name. Amen. So 2 objectives for today's lesson. One is an actual content objective. I do want to look at a little bit of your writing today. I want to see that you can write in clean, complete sentences. We'll get there at the end of our lesson today. The other thing that I'd like to be able to see today is that you can complete OneDrive assignments in Schoology. Just a little reminder that these first couple weeks are really important for us to get back into the swing of routines, and especially when it comes to using the types of technology that we'll use frequently throughout Applied English. So I want to make sure that we can hit up OneDrive assignments today. I am changing a little bit about how I use these, but most of all, I want to make sure that you are able to complete OneDrive assignments in Schoology. You're watching our spring semester overview video right now. I'll get into our syllabus in just a moment here. The other thing today is completing the Syllabus Reflection assignment in complete sentences. We'll get there within this lesson video as well. Upcoming for us next Monday, another virtual little mini lesson, is a little review of subjects and verbs. Really sentence writing in general. I want to make sure I review at that point. Before we go into some new grammar with subject-verb agreement, I want to make sure we know what subjects and verbs are before we figure out how they can agree. Let's get there. Spring semester overview is what you're watching right now, but I gotta click it because I need to open up our syllabus here. As you notice, it says that the document's attached below the video, so you'll see my video right here. You can download this document by clicking on its name, or if you click view like I did, it'll open it up in a new tab. You could also print this off if you would like a paper copy. For those of you who will have me in class next week, I will have paper copies ready for you to put inside your binders. I want to take a look through this syllabus together. I'll kind of walk through the most important steps just part by part, starting from the top, to make sure that it's clear what this semester is about for us in Applied English. There will be times when I pause to go over some of these things, so pay close attention, take notes if you like. I would like to note that I will ask you to reflect on a couple of points about this syllabus at the end of this lesson. Specifically, I'm going to ask you about one thing that excites you about this syllabus or about this semester in Applied English, one thing that maybe worries you or makes you nervous or afraid about this semester in Applied English, and then a question you have based on our syllabus for the course. I'm going to skip right down to course objectives. You can read the mission statement course description on your own. One thing I want to note says in Applied English, each lesson is designed in order to incorporate all 3 of these key actions in students' lives. If you look in each of our lesson agendas, you'll see that I try to do something every day that shares Jesus, something that shapes lives, and something that develops leaders. That's our school's mission statement. I want to make sure that every lesson, at least to a small degree, hits all 3 of those. Course objectives haven't really changed much from last semester, but it is important to go over them just so we can kind of remember why we take Applied English. One thing that I want you to remember about these objectives is that these are my jobs. So you'll notice that I have 6 jobs for me. If I'm not doing my job with one of these things, let me know, because I'm always looking for ways to be better as a teacher. Step number 1, I'll help you grow in your relationship with Jesus. We have to remember that faith is the most important thing we do. Share Jesus comes first in that school's mission statement. Really most important of all of that is that open door policy. So being a resource for you in your faith life is more important than teaching English. Feel free to ask me your questions when I'm available. It can be through Teams. I know a couple of you last semester kind of reached out to me to talk about a couple of things through Microsoft Teams. That's awesome. If you're one of my in-person students, come see me before school, after class. My days are a lot looser now, or a lot more free within the building now that I teach a lot of virtual classes too. So by all means, come see me if you have something that you'd like to talk about. If I do not feel comfortable giving advice on what you need to talk about, there's certainly someone else in our building that I can direct you to who can. We will apply biblical concepts to what we read, what we talk about, what we do in class, and I'll also include prayer or devotion in each class period, both in person and virtual. Part of my job is to help you become better students in general. So we'll review some study skills early in this semester. Part of that's what we're doing this week and next week as we get back into using technology and how to use it best. We will practice and continue to discuss those study skills throughout the year, especially for those of you who are in person or are working with things like organization in class. And then holding you all to a high level of responsibility. I think switching to having full virtual classes and full in-person classes will help with this. I'm going to try to push you guys a little bit more when it comes to things like due dates and deadlines this semester. Reading is part of my job. So this semester it says read fiction and poetry. Specifically this semester we're going to cover quite a bit of drama, so plays, maybe a little bit of film as well. We're also going to cover a graphic novel this semester, as well as poetry, short stories, those kinds of things in our African American Lit unit. We'll look at our calendar in a little bit here. We'll continue to discuss those literary devices, things like theme, plot, symbolism, setting, characters, point of view, all those things. We will read some nonfiction this semester, especially towards the end of the semester. We're going to do some research as well. So learning how to read nonfiction, discuss interpretations and opinions will be important too. And I'm just going to continue to quiz you through reading comprehension. We're going to keep building those basic reading skills in everything we do this semester. Writing is another big one. Now, I should note, last semester was the heavier writing semester. This semester is heavier on speaking and listening, but we'll still work on our writing skills quite a bit this time around. We'll continue to discuss writing, things like structure. We'll take a look back at how to structure paragraphs next week, I believe. Support is something we'll look at big time when we write our major essay this semester in March. We'll continue to practice our writing through smaller informal exercises, sentence writing activities, in-class paragraphs, those sorts of things. And we're also going to demonstrate them through a formal essay assignment. We might have a second one towards the end of the semester. It really just depends on how we're doing on time. Speaking and listening, as I mentioned, is even bigger this semester here. We will demonstrate speaking skills through a couple of formal speech assignments. For those of you who have my class virtually, we're going to get creative with speech assignments. You'll have to record some video for me or present speeches to me through Teams meetings. We'll get there when we get there. But I do want to make sure we can work on our speaking and listening skills this semester, no matter how challenging it is. The really big formal speech assignment is your final for this course. You'll notice that the entire month of May is a research project for us. Finals week for us is presenting your research in front of the class, or if you're virtual, in front of me. We'll continue to practice listening skills through just other assignments, current events, in-class discussions, any sort of film that we discuss. And in general, we just want to demonstrate good speaking and listening skills in everything we do, especially for those of you who are in person. As we're working in class with some bigger class sizes, we want to make sure that we can work on those speaking and listening skills in a classroom setup. Last part of my job is the nuts and bolts of English, vocab, and grammar. I want to help you grow in your knowledge of vocab and grammar. Just keep expanding what you know about our language. We are going to learn and practice 10 new vocab words every 2 weeks. I think we have our first set coming up in 2 weeks, actually. We'll take our first 2 weeks off of vocab, but then we'll start getting back into it once we start reading again. We are going to discuss grammar concepts. Parts of speech was last semester, but we'll get a little review of subjects and verbs Monday. We are going to cover agreement and a lot of punctuation this semester, how to use commas, semicolons, quotation marks, those kinds of things. And then lastly, once again, we're just going to keep developing those vocab and grammar skills through reading, writing, and speech. Practice makes permanent is one of my favorite sayings right there. The more we practice, the more we read, the more we write, the more we talk, the more we exercise those English muscles that we talked about in the first semester, the stronger we get naturally with things like vocabulary and our grammar skills. Anyways, I have 6 jobs. You only have 4. You're welcome. 4 expectations that I have for you as we go through this spring semester. The first one, it's the rule that you see in all of your classrooms: respect. It does say you'll have an attitude of respect in the classroom. That also means in our virtual classroom too. First of all, respect me by participating in class and following school policies. Your teachers are working their butts off, myself included. You can show me quite a bit of respect by participating, by making the most of the class opportunities I give you. Follow school policies when you're in the school building, obviously. That makes my job a lot easier too. Respect yourself by treating your education seriously. The best way that you can love yourself as a high school student is to make sure you get that education. It's the best way to set yourself up for success after high school. You can show yourself a whole lot of self-love and self-respect by taking this seriously now so that you can do well later. And respecting others and everything you do, say, and write. Again, this is whether you're in person or virtual. Anything you do, anything you type online, anything you say in the classroom, make sure that it's respectful. Let's make sure that we're building each other up instead of tearing each other down, especially in this crazy world that we live in now. Rule number 2, or expectation number 2, I should say. You will complete all of your classwork on time. This was tough as nails to do last semester because with all the restrictions we were under. One thing I would note is that most of our graded assignments can be completed the day they are assigned. So generally, I try to keep assignments pretty slim for us. There's a lot of instruction, a lot of learning. I'm trying to keep assignments manageable for you guys since you're working through other classes too. If you're an in-person learner, my goal for most of our graded assignments is that they're doable in class, so you don't have to worry too much about homework. But pay close attention to deadlines. There are some major assignments that are going to have longer deadlines than a day or two. So make sure that you are paying close attention to those, writing those in your planner. Graded work still drops to a maximum B+, 90%, as soon as it's late. I did not do a good job of enforcing this last semester. Again, it was a weird semester we were living in, but I want to do a better job of enforcing that now. As it gets later, that maximum keeps dropping until it stops at a maximum 50%. So if we think about that, let's say you're working on an essay assignment. Maybe you turned it in a couple days late. Maybe it was due on a Friday. You turned it in the next Monday, right? The max I can give you is a 90% for that. Still not bad. But let's say you waited even longer. Monday turns into Thursday. It's dropped into 80 to 70% maximum. That means even if you wrote a really good essay, let's say you wrote a 94% A essay, right? Still, the highest I can give you for that essay is a 70%. So let's make sure that we can stay on top of those deadlines. Again, that's the maximum. I won't go any lower than a 50% maximum on an assignment because of this crazy world we're living in, but please make sure you're staying on top of deadlines. If you are unable to complete something due to illness or technology issues, communicate that circumstance with me as best as you can. Talk with the attendance office as well. Miss Adams does a really good job of communicating with me about any sort of issues going on at home. That does help me to understand what sort of help I can give you as it pertains to catching up in class. I don't want to deal out punishment, a penalty, on an already difficult circumstance for you. Expectation number 3 is honesty. I did make a major change here. It's underlined for you there, so I want to make sure we're clear there. There's really 2 things that are important honesty-wise in my classroom. One is no cheating. I actually didn't see a whole lot of cheating in my classes last semester. Cheating on any assignment, so if you're copying homework from someone, if you're looking up answers to a quiz as you're taking a quiz or a test, that kind of thing, it'll result in a 0 for that assignment. This does include copying examples word for word from the internet. I saw this big time with our vocab assignments last semester. A lot of you would say, well, I don't really know how to use this word in a sentence. You look up a sentence online, totally fine, but then some of you would copy those sentences and try to pass them off as your own. It's not going to fly. What you should do instead is you can look at those examples from the internet. You can use your resources, but then make sure that what you're writing is your own. And no plagiarism is the other part. So if you use another person's work in an essay or speech, you want to use proper citation format to give credit where it's due. We are going to focus on research quite a bit this semester, so I will teach you some tools for how to avoid plagiarism in your writing and in your speeches. Last expectation is preparedness. Now, I would even say that you should have these materials ready, even if you're a virtual learner, for the sake of staying organized at home, so that you're not missing assignments and those kinds of things. Obviously, if I have you in person, please have these ready at the start of class every day. It's a good idea to have your MLHS student planner with you at all times. If you're at home and maybe never got an MLHS planner, any sort of planner or calendar is nice for keeping track of deadlines, due dates that I give you for our classes. Obviously, the MLHS one has space to track all of your classes as well. If you're in person, that planner is also the only way that I can sign you out of class to use the bathroom, so please make sure that you bring your planner to class with you. A 1-inch 3-ring binder with a clear cover. Yes, even if you're at home, I would recommend having a binder just for our course, just to keep track of anything that you might print off or anything that I might print off for you and have available at the school. You want to have something where you can keep everything for Applied English in order. That clear cover is super important for those of you in person because we are going to use that for a little activity we'll do in class once we are together in class. So again, 1-inch, 3 rings, a clear cover so that you can slip a piece of paper in the front would be wonderful. You can start doing your shopping now. 4 binder dividers. So in your binder, I recommend having a section for assignments. That's stuff that we're currently working on that we'll need to turn in at a later point. Handouts is for anything ungraded, note sheets, any sort of text that I print off for you, ungraded handouts. Graded work is anything I hand back to you with a grade on it, and then paper in the back of your binder. Speaking of paper, your paper can be loose leaf or a notebook that you just pop in the back of your binder. For those of you who are at home, this paper is probably even more important than it is for my students in class because you'll probably need to have a notebook for our course to take any notes that you want to take online. Or even if you're in person, I recommend having some loose leaf paper in the back of your binder just in case. In case you need to bring it out for an in-class paragraph, in case we need scratch paper for an activity in class. Please make sure that you have some at the ready. 100 sheets is probably more than enough. A full notebook is probably more than enough, but it's better to be safe than sorry. Blue or black pen or pencil as well. Have something to write with at all times, even if you are at home. The last thing you'll need, obviously, is yourself. And maybe that's obvious, but I want to make sure that you're avoiding tardiness to class as well. Come to class on time. That was not a big issue last semester for those of you in person, mostly because those 5-minute passing periods help us to move about the school building. So please make sure you're coming to class on time. Staying awake in class, for those of you who are in person, that's super important as well. You might as well be tardy if you're not going to stay awake in class. One thing to note, so for those of you who are full virtual, this is super important, you are expected to check in on Microsoft Teams each class day. I do want to demonstrate that real quickly. So once again, to access Teams, current families, O365, it's going to make me sign in, blah, blah, blah. We get in Office 365. Teams is the little purple icon towards the bottom for me. It might be towards the right for you if it's a different view. And then if you go to Teams right there, you'll notice that you've been added to a team. So you'll notice 3rd hour Applied English for my 3rd hour kids, 7th hour if you're in my 7th hour class. If you click into yours, you'll see that I have started posting right there. This is just a little introduction to our team right here. But you'll notice a lesson meeting right here. I'm going to put up a lesson meeting for each of our lessons. You are expected to tune in to one of those lesson meetings, at least for a few minutes to check in, just to make sure that you understand the day's lesson. My recommendation, and I wrote this earlier too, for any given lesson, my recommendation is to work through it beforehand. So you'll notice 3rd hour that your lesson meetings start at 10:50 a.m. on class days. They go from 10:50 to, what would that be, 11:35 or something. They're 45-minute meetings. So do as much as you can beforehand, then pop into our meeting to check in with me, ask any questions that you might have, get additional help. Anything you might need, we can handle within those lesson meetings. Again, you are expected to attend those lesson meetings for the sake of attendance, for the sake of grading, those kinds of things. Our first scheduled one will be next Tuesday. We will not have one today. Just want to make sure that you are ready for that. So once again, if you're 3rd hour, your regular lesson meetings are going to be every class day. For the most part, they're going to be Tuesdays and Thursdays. They run from 10:50 a.m. to 11:35 a.m. You just have to check in at some point during that time frame. 7th hour, your time frame is 2:30 to 3:15. Yeah, so another 45-minute period right there. Again, you don't have to stay for the whole 45 minutes. You can if you need to. The main thing that I would want you to do is simply to check in so that I can make sure that you're getting all the help that you need with our lesson materials that are already online. Grade breakdown is the same as last semester, 60% formative, things like vocabulary, grammar practices, online discussions, smaller presentations, most quizzes. The other 40% is all summative, so larger assignments. Our big essay this semester is going to be part of that. Our final presentation's part of that. Any tests that we take this semester, some of the quizzes that we'll take will be summatives as well. Extra credit works exactly the same, so there are two ways to earn extra credit in our course. Independent reading is one of those things. So every 6 weeks you can earn 10 points for the first book you complete, an additional 3 points for each additional book you read. For those of you who are in person, you'll need to fill out one of the bookmark forms that are on my desk. Or, especially if you are virtual, you'll want to meet with me on Microsoft Teams to briefly discuss your book. Again, it resets every 6 weeks. So if you love to read, or even if you don't love to read, and you just want to get into that habit, one book every 6 weeks is pretty manageable. And it's an easy way to get 30 extra credit points in our course. Another way to earn extra credit is our online practice game. So in our course materials folder, you'll see our Cave of Orioles folder. One thing I would note is that I just left up the same levels as last semester. Not a whole lot of you took a hold of those opportunities, so I'll reward those of you who did last semester. You get to start off with a clean slate, just get some extra practice with grammar in there. I do still have to build a couple of levels there. I think it's floors 19 through 24 are going to be last semester review, so I'll put in some old vocabulary, some mixed grammar practices, those kinds of things. And then there's level 25, the bonus level, which is worth 15 points all by itself. Again, these are great ways to boost your score in applied English, so I would definitely start working through those today if you can. Our calendar for this semester, this is where things get really exciting for us. One thing that's cool about this semester is we get 20 weeks. I know that sounds like a really long time. The reason why it's 20 weeks is we have so many short weeks this semester, including this one. I just want to kind of walk through the plan for this semester, kind of talk through our goals as a class. Right now, we're at the end of week 1, so we're getting our course overview, we're checking in with one another, making sure the technology works. From there, we start a drama unit for the month of January, going into that first week of February as well. For drama, I mainly just want to introduce you to how to study drama as a genre. Drama are things like plays on stage, to a smaller degree film, those kinds of things. As we're studying drama, we are going to study grammatical agreement. So subject-verb agreement, we'll get some verb tense in there as well. Pronoun antecedent agreement too. And we're also going to do a couple of different ways to study plays. One is reading a short one together called Trifles. That'll be one where we get some acting practice in class, work on our speaking and listening skills. The other way that we'll do it big time is by doing partner skits. If you're in person, you'll have a partner. You'll be able to do a socially distanced skit in our classroom to get some practice with your speaking and acting skills. If you are virtual, I'll have you do it as a monologue. So you get to practice a speech from a movie or a play, that kind of thing, and you'll get to present that in front of me for a grade. That is our first summative assessment of the semester. It's our first major assignment. We might have some extra time in early February where we get to do some film study as well, but it all depends on how quickly we can move through those partner skits and monologues. During Black History Month, we will be doing an African American literature unit. I can't give a whole lot of details on it right now because it is a new unit. Mrs. Tan and I are kind of building the text that we're going to study as a class. One thing I can tell you now is we're going to study a variety of texts. So we're going to study poetry. We'll look at short stories. We'll look at speeches. We'll look at essays. We'll look at a whole variety of authors and writers. As we're studying African American literature, we're also going to study punctuation, starting with commas and semicolons because they're the most useful for sentence structure and for moving forward with other punctuation. We kind of have a midterm this semester, end of week 9. I think it actually falls on March 4th, if I remember correctly. I do want to run a test just from where we're at so far in the semester. The reading's just going to cover our readings from African American literature, but the grammar will cover what we've learned from the start of the semester at that point. In the month of March, I know we're out of Black History Month, but we're going to follow up our African American literature unit with an essay. We're going to start a Black History essay at that point, and that also hits spring break. So notice that there's a jump between week 10 and week 11. Spring break exactly divides our semester in half right there. We'll start our Black History essay right before spring break. We'll do some research, some pre-writing, selecting topics, those kinds of things. But then after we get back from break, we get to do quite a bit of the actual writing itself with each other at that point. Again, Mrs. Tan and I are working on that prompt, so I can't tell you a ton of specifics with that unit just yet. But that is our only major essay assignment of the semester. Once we hit April, we're going to study a different type of literature with graphic novels, think comic books. We'll be studying Beowulf this year. I kind of like to flip-flop texts every year, so Beowulf gives you a chance to learn a little bit about mythology. It's actually the earliest example of what we would consider English literature. We'll study Beowulf for a couple of weeks. It's a pretty quick read because it's a graphic novel, and we'll be learning some other punctuation at the same time. That Beowulf unit does end at the end of April with another assessment. It might be a test, it might be an essay, it might be a blend of both. We kind of have some creativity on how we can work our way through Beowulf. And Beowulf leads us into the month of May, where we get to follow that up with another research project focusing on mythology. You'll have that entire month to work on your mythology research project, but once again, as I mentioned earlier, the semester ends with your presentation of your research of your mythology topic. I'm thinking at this point that we'll study mostly heroes and monsters. So you'll get to choose a mythological hero, mythological figure, or mythological villain, a monster. Do your research, and then present your findings at the end of the semester. Last thing I would remind you of is of our online presence. You guys know how to use Schoology right there. It's organized by weeks. Nothing much has really changed with how our course is organized as opposed to last semester. Would like to remind you that we do have our calendar on the right-hand side for upcoming assignments and dates. I might look at that in just a moment here, as well as your gradebook on the left. So if you notice that your grade is low, you might click on the gradebook, see if you have some earlier missing assignments you can complete. There's also Schoology's Messenger on the upper right-hand corner. It's not my favorite messenger in the world, and Teams is infinitely better. But besides emailing me, Schoology's Messenger is another way to reach me. Microsoft Teams is the absolute best way to get into contact with me. You know how to access it because I showed it earlier in this lesson anyway. And lastly, like, comment, subscribe. I am, once again, still on YouTube. My YouTube handle is Mr. Hantek MLHS. You can technically look back through last semester's lesson videos in the fall semester playlist there. But I'm also going to create a playlist for this semester's videos too. You can always watch back through earlier videos, earlier instruction, by looking back through my YouTube channel, through those playlists, to take a look at what you may have missed in the past. Last thing to look at today is just a little assignment I want you to do as it pertains to the syllabus we just looked through. It's your syllabus reflection. Now, this is a OneDrive assignment. We did a lot of these last semester, but I am changing up a little bit about how we work through these. Again, you should see my little tab titled maybe My Document up here in the top tabs. I just want to look at this assignment real quick. This one simply says, please answer each of the following questions in 1 to 2 complete sentences. Just grading this out of 10 points, mostly based on completeness and grammar. You'll notice there are 3 questions to answer. So one is, what aspect of our course excites you most, just based on what you saw in our syllabus? What worries you most, or maybe makes you most nervous? Maybe worries is a strong term for that. And then what's one question you have for me about our course this semester? There's really no right or wrong answers for these, but I do want to see that you can write complete sentences. Once you're done, you should have the ability to close out and then press, I think it's maybe Submit Document up here as well. One change that I'm making about OneDrive assignments is that I'm going to comment on them. So I usually go into your document, I leave comments and highlights and those kinds of things. And then I can leave a grading comment too. But one thing I'm going to change this time around, for any assignment you submit to me through OneDrive, I'm going to immediately unsubmit it as soon as I'm done grading too. Because I'm finding that is the best way to give you access back to it. It's the easiest way that you can go back and look through all of my comments as well. So don't be surprised if I unsubmit a document you submit to me through OneDrive assignments. That's just so you can see your feedback a little bit better too. And that also gives you a chance to go back and fix anything that I ask you to fix for a higher grade on these assignments too. I talked a lot within this lesson. Once again, I want to give you some time to actually work through our syllabus reflection. If you could complete that just within these next couple of days, that would be wonderful, so I can give you some comments on that. We can move into grammar next week.